This is a breaking news alert from 24-Hour News 8.
And breaking right now, we just learned that the AP has called the race in the Democratic presidential primary in Michigan.
That's right. The AP projecting tonight, Senator Bernie Sanders, in an upset win, takes Michigan, a feat that seemed impossible if you looked at the polls just days ago. Here are the latest numbers. Bernie Sanders winning the state 50 to 48% over Hillary Clinton. Hillary did well in the Metro Detroit region, but outstate, Bernie Sanders was very strong, a strong competitor tonight.
And that's with 90% of the precincts reporting. Political reporter Rick Albin is joining us now in studio with how Sanders managed to pull off this win.
It is remarkable to say the least. But Brian, you asked a very important question before we got here because it's so close. What about the proportional allocation of delegates? Well, it means they're both going to get about the same amount of delegates. This is about momentum for Bernie Sanders. There were some cable news networks this morning that were saying, is this the last gasp for Bernie Sanders? Well, all that yellow represents the area that he won. That doesn't look like a last gasp. Let me show you why it is so close, 50 to 48 with about 20,000, 22,000 votes separating the two. Let's go first where we always go, to Macomb County. Somebody asked me a few minutes ago, why do you always go to Macomb County? Macomb and Oakland County are the key for Republicans and Democrats because of the size. Here only about 86,000 votes, but you see they stayed very close together. That means there was no big lead for Clinton. Then if you go to Oakland County, where she also won, the same is also true. Here we've got big numbers. We've got 170,000 votes or more. But again, the separation was small enough that Hillary Clinton couldn't get that traction to get out and get the big win. Then when you come out in the outstate, she's winning some of these counties by something like 60, 35 off the board, but she got beaten badly in many of these outstate areas. Let's see how you voted in Kent County. In Kent County, it was 63-37. We saw this replicated all over the place. This is with 88% reporting. Let's go to Kalamazoo and see how it worked out down there, 60 to 38. And if you go through all of these counties, and again, remember, this heat map technology is exclusive to us here at 24-Hour News 8 in Van Buren County, for example, and Allegan County, 60 to 38%. So all of these places are where Hillary Clinton was underperforming, 64 to 35 in Ottawa County. And even though the total vote numbers aren't that big, when you keep doing that in Muskegon County, a little closer, 56 to 42, when that happens county after county after county, well, you see what happened now. It took us late into the evening to figure this out, but this is going to have reverberations going forward because this is big news for Democrats. Hillary Clinton's campaign is still intact. She still has a lot of money, and she'll still have more delegates. But Bernie Sanders has a lot of money, and it's pretty clear he's got pretty good organization. He came into this state 20-plus points behind, and tonight he wins the state of Michigan, and that is big news and will continue to be as we continue to follow Decision 2016. All right, I'm going to come back over and join you guys, and who knew?
Right, so what a surprise.
Yeah. What do you chalk up? The polls were way off again in this race. A lot of people on social media suggesting that the polls weren't reaching the college voters, college-age voters. Is that
I think
feasible?
that's possible. I think it's possible that college-age voters won't sit through a long poll. Live polling is the best way to do this. Sometimes those are 15 or 20 or 25 questions. I know when I was in college, if somebody wanted to ask me 50,
Right.
unless they were paying me by the minute, I wasn't going to do it. So I don't know if that's part of it. They do factor in cell phones. People ask about that. But here's the other thing that I think is really important. You cannot overlook the kind of surge that Bernie Sanders had in these last couple of days after the debate. And I think that debate may have helped him very well. We saw the same thing with John Kasich. He may end up being in third place tonight, but he was going to be in dead last. If he ends up in third place, it's going to be by a percentage point or two. So Kasich, too, had that big surge after the debate. Normally, I would stand here and tell you debates don't make that much difference. Guys like me like to cover them, and they're fun to be a part of. But I think the debates in Michigan this year played against type, and I think they may have had an impact. And then both of those candidates I mentioned again, John Kasich and Bernie Sanders, lived in Michigan. And Sanders did it kind of by surprise. We knew Kasich was going to do it, but Sanders came in and he did an event. And we thought he was going to leave. And then he did another event. And the next thing you know, he's every time you turn around, he's there. And we saw him all these different times, and he came and he talked with us and did a lot of earned media. He did the things you do to win presidential elections. This felt a lot more like Iowa than Michigan this year.
And perhaps Clinton will regret not doing all of that.
Well, I mean, I think they're going to have, again, her campaign's fine. This is not going to be the end of that. But I think they always have to look at it. Michigan should have been a stronghold for her. There was nobody that would have suggested she wouldn't have won. I said earlier today, if Bernie Sanders can get within single digits, that's a good day for him. Well, I'd never expected this to happen.
Yes.
And quite frankly, the Clinton people do have to take a step back and say, if this is Clinton territory and this is what Bernie Sanders did to us here, we've got to rethink the message. And remember, this was about trade. It was about CAFTA. It was about NAFTA. It was about people being out of jobs. It was about government doing the wrong things that put businesses out of business and people out of jobs. And all of those things resonate in Michigan. We've seen that go on for years and years.
Yes. Okay. Interesting night, historic night.
You bet.
Rick Albin, thank you. Results will continue to come in overnight, of course. We'll have live team coverage is still this morning coming up on Daybreak starting at 4:30.
Have a good night.